Okay, so this is going to be a conversation to learn a little bit more. I think, as we mentioned before, there's many here that haven't been before. There's many that have come back. But before we get into Rise and Lead Women, let's start with you as our founder. So, who is Ebere Akadiri? Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Thank you so much, Christina. Thank you. I was going to avoid this session because they asked me to shoot a video, like to tell the story, and I went to Roy. We did a nice video, but it wasn't ready. Yeah, Roy is there. And you know how sometimes it's hard to tell your story, to be honest. And then I said, okay, ask me questions, then I'll answer. So we're going to have a conversation. So thank you for that question. For those who don't know me, my name is Ebere Akadiri. I'm the founder of Rise and Lead Women. This is where you are. And beside Rise and Lead, I'm also the founder of, first of all, Ataro Foods, and now in the UK, Ataro Group, co-founder. And what we do in Rise and Lead Women here is to inspire women to rise and lead, to advocate for change with corporate leaders, and provide professional training for women. So for me, if you ask me who I am, I'll tell you I'm passionate about having more women rise. I'm passionate about having more women live their dreams and go beyond the societal limitations and achieve their dreams in life.
That's wonderful, and I think everyone sees your passion shining through with that. And so, you mentioned you've got Ataro Foods. You were an entrepreneur in Nigeria, had a restaurant, and then ultimately ran different businesses. How did this lead to creating Rise and Lead Women? What was that connection there? Where did the journey start?
Okay, yeah. So thank you. That's a good question. And I forgot to mention that, listen, beside Rise and Lead, I have experience in the corporate world as an entrepreneur and also nonprofit. And all this experience have prepared me to be the leader that I am today. And for me, the reason I started Rise and Lead was to make an impact for myself and also for my community. In 2013, I arrived in Netherlands with my husband. By the way, I have 5 children.
All Talk mine. About multitasking.
All mine. I have 5 children. And I know we moved to the Netherlands because my husband worked for Shell in Nigeria, and he was transferred to the Netherlands. And when I got to the Netherlands, within 3 months, I was becoming depressed. Even though I was learning Dutch, trying to integrate, good place, wonderful people, but I was missing something. So Shell, they're very generous. They provided us a lot. We could live in the best part of The Hague, children, 5 of them international schools. And my husband, we are doing great, right? But I felt something was missing. Something in me was dying, and I couldn't tell what it was. I looked at all the other expat spouses. They were happy to spend our husband's money, go to the buy and cough. I told them that, listen, my life, there's something more to my life than enjoying money and, going to expensive places. My life is centered around impact, to impact others. And then I started thinking, why is that? And then I remembered that before I moved to the Netherlands, I owned a restaurant. First of all, I had a female, first of all, I worked. And when I was 7 months pregnant, I lost my job. And I couldn't stay idle. Within that 7 months, I was still pregnant. I started the business, launched the business when my daughter was 2.5 months old. So I was selling female clothing. I was traveling to London and the US, bring things to Nigeria. But then I had a vision to own a restaurant. I studied food science and technology, did some internship in all these fast casual restaurants. I said, I want to own a restaurant. So 9 years down the line, I remember that dream, and I started the restaurant. My restaurant grew within a year above every other restaurant in the city, just by my touch. And I had, within 2 years, we had 2 branches. No, sorry, within 3 years, we already had 3 branches, 7 sales outlets. Every oil company in Nigeria was using our restaurant for their catering, right? I had 56 employees. And I had, we were doing offshore catering. We had over maybe 30, 40 non-employed people who we called for catering. We had a bakery. So my vision was so big, like we had over 1,100 and, we had over 1,500 people coming to eat in my restaurant every day.
Wow.
And then I was asking, what was I missing? Was it the money? Because the money was good. But it wasn't. Because my husband, really very generous guy, I hope he's listening. My husband took care of us. But I was depressed. There's something more about my life than being here. Mm-hmm. We thought of going back. I said, no, it was too late. My children love the Netherlands a lot. So we couldn't go back. And so I remembered that it was because of the impact I was able to make through my restaurant. So for example, I remember one day, a driver who wasn't employed by us, by another third party, came to my office and was crying that he will lose his wife if he doesn't get some money for his cesarean operation. And I said, why don't you talk to your company to give you the money? He said, no, they can't. And so I called my HR. I said, I know our policy says we don't give a loan to people who don't work with us, but I signed the policy, I can unsign it. So that's influence, that is position. Can you change that? Yeah. Save this man's wife. I remembered so many of such stories of people who work for me and their families were feeding from this company, right? And that's what I missed. I missed the ability to touch people. Mm-hmm. I missed the ability to help people. I wasn't in that position anymore. And so I launched my Ataro Food, connecting with people, giving cooking workshops. I wasn't a chef, but I did it to start. I had a vision. I can start from somewhere. I was offering cooking workshops. At that time, I was not looking for a network meeting or conference where women were talking about ambition, goals, companies. I didn't find any in The Hague. I told my mentor then, Poonam Barua, because when I came, I had to say, okay, I have to learn how things work. So I was learning different things, learning Dutch, going to entrepreneurship school, Erasmus. I told Poonam, I don't know, I'm not fitted in here. The conversation is too micro. I want something bigger. And she said, Ebere, launch something. Oh. Do it. Whatever conversation you want to see, you can be that change. That was the beginning of Rise and Lead Summit. That was the beginning of Rise and Lead Women.
That's wonderful. It's wonderful that you were able to connect with what your passion and what your purpose was and what was missing. And also shows the value, I think, of mentorship, how someone planted the seed to go for it. And so the Rise and Lead Summit, the first summit was 2018.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit more about that first experience in launching this conference.
Yes. So, one of the things my mentor said to me is that you need to understand what gifts you have and use it to rise. And she asked me, what are your gifts? I said, really, my natural gift is hosting parties and events.
And feeding people.
That was the only thing I did in my restaurant. I let the managers do the hard work. I was only part of the entertainment, catering, and stuff. I said, that's my natural gift. And she said, launch an event-based initiative. So in 2018, she came all the way from India, and we had the first Rise and Lead Summit. And the theme was empowering women for leadership and impact. I was tired of the conversation. I needed more women to see themselves as leaders. I wanted women to build companies, not businesses where they are struggling and doing it alone. That's all I was seeing in the Netherlands. I'm like, listen, women, you can build companies and you can also close the gender gap. Put the structures, put strategies, have vision, build companies. And so I really wanted to bring female entrepreneurs together. But Poonam was already into the corporate space, and she had something similar in India. She said, listen, Ebere, we can't close the gap if you're focusing only on female entrepreneurs. Let's bring in the corporates. Yes. That's why you saw entrepreneur corporates, and that's the beginning. But the interesting thing is that when I launched Rise and Lead in 2018, I just wanted to have an event. My vision wasn't so far. Okay, I'm an expat. I didn't know how long I was going to live in this country. I was an expat then. So after that event, you can imagine, I told my speakers that we're expecting 35 people because it's the first event. I only planned it within 2 months. 2 months. We had 120 people come to here, right here, right here. The energy in the room, the electricity in that room, just like today, was too much. That at the end of the meeting, everybody said, Ebere, what's next? I'm like, hey, nothing. I don't know what is next. I'm sorry. I just wanted to bring women together and inspire this conversation and drive to lead the change. But after that, I went back to start thinking. Ebere, you're a businesswoman, visioning. Let's think. So I had to start with my mentor. I said, listen, women alone can't achieve this mission of closing the gender leadership gap. I said, we need to involve men. So that's how 2018 was the start, but it was the start of a journey of where we are today.
That's great. And I can remember my first experience with Rise and Lead Women was when I was invited to what you called your Connect to Grow mentoring circles, and someone asked me to come in and act as a mentor. This was virtual, and I tell you, I felt the electricity. I was not even in the room, and I just felt the energy of all these aspiring leaders and just the openness that people felt that they could ask questions and were engaged. So this is something new outside of the summit. So it wasn't just a summit. So how did this mentorship germinate?
Okay, so because women asked me what's next and I had no answer, I had to start thinking. And I was always mentoring female entrepreneurs. So I said, okay, we can use that same skill to create Connect to Grow. So it was an informal gathering. We were using this hotel as well. UPS sponsored us, We gather women, about 50. We were having 30 to 50 women come together. And the curriculum was based on personal leadership. It was based on mindset. I knew there needs to be some mindset shifts for us to rise. So we were talking about how to use your voice, visioning for your career and business, and also we were talking about the best part, really, of the rise of the Connect to Grow was at the end of each session, we had small circles, 5 to 6. We still do that virtually. We had 5 to 6 people gather in different rooms. So I will appoint a facilitator. I will write to them, hey, look at how you facilitate this. I was like doing everything. And that's, my goodness, those sessions were transformational. Mm-hmm. Women were crying. They felt seen. Now I can speak up. Now my voice matters. I really have dreams, but I buried them just doing school runs. People started finding jobs, starting their businesses, and we continued because that Connect to Grow was speaking to people's mindsets, because that's where it starts. You need to transform and see who you're becoming before you actually get there. So that's the purpose of Connect to Grow, and that's why we still do it.
That's great. And I know one that really we had we had to stop the session because it kept going on, finding and using your voice in rooms and in meetings and in life, and that can just be so empowering, right? Yeah. And that's where you see the impact after. And of course, this led then to the Rising Leaders program, which I understand was a similar program to help women go through modules, right?
Yes, so after that, Connect to Grow started in 2020, leading into 2019, and then we had the 2019 summit, bringing corporate leaders in this space as well. And so after that, I thought of all the testimonials I was getting from women who were coming to Connect to Grow, and I decided to structure it in a way that I can deliver a program. Especially, we know corporates offer leadership trainings, but sometimes they are not accessible to everyone. So we are looking for people in mid-senior management to attend we called it Rise to Leadership program. So I structured it in a way that people can go from finding their gifts, just the way I found mine, and being able to visualize and have a vision of a better career future, and then with the strategies, and this is where mindset plays a role. Some of my students are here looking at me and nodding.
In the front row.
Yeah, quick transformation. I mean, it's just that program. At the end of that program, I interviewed each of them, and they were all on fire to go drive change in their companies. After 1 year, you can't imagine the transformation. All got promoted or changed jobs. Some are we are even being considered for leadership position, and we are going to be the youngest. There is so much. Somebody called me last week and said, thank you for that program. You helped me to find my confidence, find my voice. There is a particular session towards the end. I asked them, who do you want to speak in your company, but you're so afraid to talk to? They're like, oh, we're going to talk to this person. I say, with Ebere, you take action. We don't talk. Oh, yeah, now, contact them, reach out to them, send an email, text messages. They were so afraid, but they did. I wish we could have shared their testimonials. It was powerful. That moment where they could reach out, one of them, looking at me here, said, I had a meeting with my CEO. I'm very young, but I asked my CEO for a meeting. And we had lunch together. And she's flying. Oh, that session was impactful.
Talk about impact. Yeah. I mean, I know we have UPSers that went through that program and they've been promoted. They went through and they're tracking along on their goals. I know we're reaching the end, but I do want to ask. I have a feeling that it doesn't end here. I have a feeling that maybe there might be even some more ideas that you have for the years ahead. So can you give any spoilers maybe on what is your focus now? I know that we've got this 5 years. Where do we go from here?
Should I say or not? Okay, just a little. I'm not saying all. I like to surprise people. Somebody once called me an idea factory. Listen, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've had a retail shop, restaurant business, spice production. Now we are manufacturing different food products in the UK, launching soon. And for me, the 5-year vision for Rise and Lead, I've kind of reached it. I've accomplished it. Because I set a vision. And I wanted Rise and Lead to be bigger than me. For me to do that, I had to change it from a Beres initiative this year to become a foundation. And this is when I invited people like Christina, who is the chair of the board, Rhonda, Stefan, Rick, Samir, wonderful people. Then my executive board, Geralda, Sabrina. Listen, these people are not, they are not about title, I'm a board member. Hands-on. They're all working in Rise and Lead, combining it with their day-to-day work. They just make life easier for me. And now the idea for us is we're going to make an impact. We're going to amplify our impact and launch Rise and Lead in other countries. In 2019, Adebola, who you will be seeing, paid for herself all the way from Nigeria with Busayo. They came here for the summit. And at the end, they said, please, we want this in Nigeria. I said, hey, we'll give you all the tools and resources. So they launched Rise and Lead Women in Africa, in Nigeria. And so today, we are looking for those women who said, listen, I want to drive this same change in my country. I want to bring Rise and Lead to our country. I'm here to support. And that's the vision. We want to expand and make greater impacts outside Europe, to North America, to Asia, to Africa.
It's amazing. And I do just want to touch on one item before we wrap up, because I know some have already been asking me about it. Mentorship and cross-industry mentorship. Yes. I know this has come up, so I just thought before we close, maybe it's good for us just to touch on that for those that have been inquiring.
Yeah, so personally, I didn't mention I studied Masters in Leadership and Management here in Leiden, in Webster University. And since I didn't use it to work, I paid so much money, like 35K. So I said, I'm going to start designing programs for companies with that. So we've designed mentorship programs for different companies. And even we've started designing for bigger, larger organizations. We just did one recently. And now, we are launching our own cross-industry mentorship program for Rise and Lead Women. And it's launching in February, but starting next month, we're going to already start reaching out to companies and individuals. Somebody who wants to be a sponsor, or if you want to be, you want to be a mentor, or you want to be a mentee, we're reaching out to you to just join. Because, listen, this is how we close the gender leadership gap. We take action. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.